Remember that team in high school that you didn't want to play in your conference? Not because they were a power or because they had a bunch of D1 ball players. It was their style of play. You were like, oh, we got to play them. Like, you know how they're going to play, and it's just not fun. That's the Portland Trailblazers in the identity that Chauncey Billups has built, and they're building there. And so the Warriors head into this preseason game against a young, hungry team who's going to pick up full court press. They're super big and athletic. And the Warriors didn't look great, right? You got our big three, our vets trying to break a sweat, and just get some timing. And the Blazers are playing way too hard, right? But that's their identity. And a credit to Chauncey Billups and their general manager for bringing in those players and building that identity, because they're going to be a pain in the butt all year long. There's no doubt about it. Now, I think the stat that jumps out is we got out-rebounded 60-44 in this game. And I think some of it is matchup-based. Again, getting back to their style, you're looking at a super athletic team that picks up ball pressure. They're very long, and then they've got these two giant centers. And there were several times where Klingon just reached up and grabbed the ball over whoever was boxing him out, right? I think that naturally they're going to out-rebound a lot of teams. And then you combine that with their effort level being higher than the Warriors' veterans and starters to start the game. And it was an ugly first half of basketball. We were turning the ball over in the backcourt. We were getting out-rebounded. But I think the biggest issue that I saw that, actually can play into different matchups is the inability to stop like super athletic guards from getting downhill. Whether it was Blake Wesley or Shaden Sharp, Moses and Pods, they're going to struggle with those types of matchups. And they were just slicing into the paint, kicking it out, and then they were hitting threes. And so that's why that first half looked like that. Now, what were we down? Like 17, 18, headed into that fourth quarter. And I think the first thing you have to make note of was we got into the bonus with like 7 minutes to go in that fourth quarter, because the over-aggressive defense from Portland started to add up. The rookie Hansen fouled out, right? And he was having trouble moving his feet. And Officer Pat looked around. He was like, there's 7 minutes left? We at the bonus? And so they put their head down, got to the line a bunch. Quentin got hot from three, and he and Pat seemed to be building a nice little chemistry in the pick and pop game. And LJ Cryer from Baylor, who was on the Summer League team. I know a lot of people were excited about him. I wasn't thrilled with what he looked like in Summer League, but Summer League is a weird setting to judge players at certain times. I think he had an injury, but here he is on the preseason roster, and his ball pressure, his big shot making, that walk-up three to retake the lead, free throws, and his defensive tenacity to go along with Will Richard, Gee. Everybody was flying around there for this furious comeback, right? But that was kind of one of my takeaways was you get back to our inability to guard these really quick, shifty guards with our main guys. I think that's where Cryer's value could come in. When you look at the 3 two-way spots, you've got Pat Spencer. He's not going anywhere, right? Jackson Rowe, who's been in the organization for like 3 years, and then Alex Tui, this year's second-round pick. Whether it's Tui or Jackson Rowe, I think if we're talking about right now this season and the roster fit, I think Cryer holds more value than either of those guys because of what he brings to the table that we don't have, right? Like Jackson Rowe, he's a solid player, but it's not something that we can't find elsewhere, whether it's Gee or another wing, right? Where Cryer, if there is a night where we can't stay in front of a guard in the final 2 minutes a half, you could throw him in there and disrupt, have him pick up ball pressure in the backcourt and give the offense a different look, give the opponents a different look with this defensive, his defensive versatility, his tenacious. Is from Baylor, right? You talk about that team you don't want to play. Baylor is that team in the NCAA. Like, they have a type. If you come out of Baylor, like, you're rugged. Cryer's rugged. He's a big shot maker, but more importantly, I like what he brings to the table defensively is something we don't really have. I mean, you could say GP2, right? But Cryer, he's a low center of gravity. And so he was impressive in that comeback. Will Richard, it's not loud. It's not a lot of stats. And at the risk of sounding kind of blasphemous, as I'm watching the tape this morning, got a full breakdown on my Patreon right now. I'll put the link in the description. Look, he doesn't have the physical attributes of Andre Iguodala. Like very few do. That's like what made Andre special to go along with his IQ in mind. But, Andre was this freakish athlete. But Will Richard kind of reminds me of Andre in the way that he plays. He's a connector. He's always going to make the extra pass. He's always going to rotate correctly. He's going to dig down, good hands, do a little of this, a little of that. And so that's an exciting, another piece that looks like, I don't know how much opportunity he's going to get when you consider adding Melton and Seth, but he looks like a hit in the second round. Tui, I don't know. He might be a year away from being a year away, but Will Richard definitely looks like he should be in uniform, every night. Like he's just a connector, and Kerr loves connectors. Quentin Post, 20-point night, got hot from three. Early in the game, he was a little gun shy with some of the threes. I think Klingon, he wasn't sure he could get the shot off because Klingon does contest well at 7-2. But once he was out of there, he let him fly. But I think more importantly were the other two things he showed. One, he showed when they run him off the three-point line, which everyone is going to, that little floater for a 7-footer, that little push floater looks pure, right? So that's like nice to see. But then defensively, I don't think he's ever going to maybe be the rebounder you want him to be at your center spot. He just doesn't have a strong enough base. He doesn't have enough pop off the floor. But what he does do well is he contests the rim. He's big at the front of the rim. And he's not going to get a ton of blocks either. But he altered a ton of shots last night, being in the right spot and being a 7-footer at the front of the rim. So, really nice night from QP. And then let's talk about Kuminga. I know that's what y'all want to talk about, right? He has another really, really good game, and it's not about the stat line. It's about what you saw with your eyes, what you saw out there. And he continued to make the extra pass. He only had like 2 assists. He had a couple hockey assists, and he would have had 4 or 5 assists if guys had made the shots. But the important thing is he made the right play. And we can talk about JK, some of the lack of feel, right? And lack of fundamentals. One thing that Kuminga's always had since his rookie year is good timing. And that's a trait you don't really teach. You can refine it with experience and anticipation, but timing, that's kind of innate. And he's got really good timing, and you're seeing it in the playmaking. Like he's just, the pass is on time, right? But there was a moment in the second quarter that really was the most exciting thing to me in the game. He gets the ball on the wing, and this is in the breakdown. You got to see it, but he swings it to Jimmy in the corner. Jimmy drives baseline, pump fakes, and does his Jimmy thing and gets fouled. But Kuminga just stayed on the wing and watched, and Jimmy went right to him. Hey, I'm going to get you the ball. I want you to cut or drift to the corner. You got to go to the corner or you're going to cut, and I'm going to drop it off to you. I'm going to get you the ball. I'm going to get you the ball. And then the next possession down, Jimmy's driving from the wing, and Kuminga cuts off the weak side. He doesn't find him, drifts back out to the corner. They do find him, and he hits the three. And we didn't really get to see this happen last year because of the timing. Kuminga's ankle injury, Jimmy, and then the playoff push. But that was, in theory, what people were excited about, right? Was like, look what Jimmy does, how he enhances young players. And I think first and foremost, you have to credit Kuminga right now for doing everything they've asked, playing the way and buying in. But I'm excited to see Jimmy empower him and for them to figure it out. And Jimmy just has a way of doing these things. And he did it just, it was cool. It was cool to see. Again, it's in the breakdown. And Kuminga, it looks good. Looked like he tweaked the right ankle a little bit coming down, trying to rebound. We'll monitor that. But there's 3 more preseason games. Who else is there to talk about? Trace got in there. And, I think Trace, when you look at the depth of this team, it's going to be a matchup-based situation for Trace. Like on certain nights against certain teams, I think he can be effective. Portland happens to probably be one of those teams to just match their athleticism. Like they're so athletic and aggressive. I think Trace is a good matchup for that. And he did 2 things that showed me that he had been working on his game a little bit. He went up and dunked it with one hand. If you know, you know. I've been whining about this since his rookie year. Like you can't try to finish everything with 2 hands. It limits the angles that you can finish at. And then he had a drive where he drove left and spun back to the left shoulder and tried to finish with his off right hand. That was super encouraging. But once again, I think you see the depth and the chemistry. I'm not really worried about, what that first half looked like. I thought Steph was cruising around, right? And I don't blame him against, especially a team like that. Like when you're a vet, you're like, I ain't doing too much against these guys. Not when it don't matter. Like they're diving to the floor. Kumara's out there like foaming at the mouth. Like, so I thought all in all it was good. The comeback was fun to watch. But I'm more obviously interested in the team chemistry. That Kuminga Jimmy moment meant more to me than the comeback, as well as the individual young players and how they're developing, right? And so I think it was another good performance. What else do we have here? I guess Portland. I'm impressed with what Chauncey's doing here. And again, they're going to be a pain in the butt all season long. Shaedon Sharpe looks like he's coming into his own, right? Is this year 3 for him? The game's slowing down, right? I think he's realizing that with that athleticism, less is more. He kind of reminds me of Zach LaVine in the way that he just kind of glides effortlessly into everything. And the question is he going to become more of a winning player than Zach? I like his chances in this organization with Chauncey as the head coach. He's going to hold him accountable defensively and doing the little things. And so, this Portland roster, again, no one's penciling them into the playoffs, but it's gonna be a long night when you see them, and we see them again in this preseason. I'd probably rest the vets against this team in that matchup. You got the Lakers Saturday. What else? I think that's it. Again, subscribe to the Patreon, y'all. You won't be disappointed. That breakdown always comes out before the YouTube video, and it's just way longer, and it's over highlights. It's better. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a great way to support the channel. But yeah, another impressive performance in my eyes, individually and collectively from that second unit. Y'all know what to do. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.